So China just dropped this video during a recent India-Pakistan standoff. It's a parody of Daler Mehendi's Tunak Tunak Tun song from the 90s. But this is not the first time. Back in 2020, during the Ladakh standoff, they pulled off something similar. Long mustaches, flashy kurtas, exaggerated turbans. The full Punjabi caricature. India is home to dozens of ethnic groups, so why does Chinese media always default to the image of a Sikh when mocking or stereotyping Indians? One might say it's just lazy costume design, but I think it's something deeper than that. This whole thing is the result of a memory that goes over a century and a half, to a time when Chinese cities were policed by Sikhs. Here's a photo from 1900. 8 officers from 8 imperial nations who invaded Beijing during the Boxer Rebellion. Now look again. That guy in the turban, he's from British India. The Boxer Rebellion was to China what 1857 was to India. A native uprising against the foreign power. Out of 20,000 troops who marched into Beijing, 8,000 were from India. Many from Sikh regiments of the British Army. But this wasn't a one-time thing. From the Second Opium War in 1850s to World War I, Sikh regiments were basically the empire's enforcers in East Asia. But Sikh regiments fighting for British against China is only half of the story. More significantly, many Sikhs served not as soldiers, but as imperial police. These photos from 1900 Shanghai and Hong Kong show Sikh officers directing traffic, standing guard, maintaining law and order, and controlling riot. By early 20th century, Sikhs made up nearly 1/3 of the British police force in these cities. They became symbols of control, of foreign power. And to ordinary Chinese civilians, these towering turbaned men were not from their own world, but they were in charge of it. And that power, it stuck. British officers even said Sikhs could control crowds without weapons. Just that presence was enough. Look at this cartoon from 1940 of a Sikh policeman directing traffic in Shanghai. Now let's take a look at this clip from 1972 Bruce Lee movie Fist of Fury. The scene shows some Europeans entering a park.
你啊大姨啊，你有做咩？入去睇睇。唔得啊，你有做就睇。
But when a Bruce Lee tries to enter, a Sikh guard stops him and points to a board.
你啊，好恨入去玩下咩？啊，嚟，你趴低先。你當自己係大日本嘅狗仔，我帶你入去玩，啊？
Some Japanese man then insulted Bruce Lee before he bursts into his typical kick. That casting of a Sikh outside the park wasn't accidental. In Chinese cultural memory, the Sikh isn't just foreign. He's the enforcer of foreign oppression. And that racist signboard, I guess somebody took artistic liberty there, but this is an actual signboard outside a park in Shanghai from that time. Clearly, it allowed only foreigners to enter the park. Chinese even developed special slang for the Sikhs. Hong Tu Asan, meaning red-headed number 3. Because in the racial ladder in the Chinese mind, white men were number 1, Chinese were number 2, and the rat turbaned Indians, they became number 3. Other slurs included Heigui, that meant black devil. But despite all these dynamics, by early 1900s, the Sikhs of British Imperial Police were quite settled in China. Here's a rare photo from 1927, a Sikh community in Macau. With them, their Chinese wives and their mixed race children. But this multicultural chapter didn't last. When Japan invaded in the late 1930s, many Sikh families fled Shanghai. Some moved to Hong Kong, others returned to Punjab. And then came Mao. During the Cultural Revolution, religion was declared feudal. Temples, mosques, churches, and even a handful of gurdwaras like this one from a 1927 map of a Chinese city were desecrated and turned into housing blocks. A whole history erased. Cut to 2021, Arunachal Pradesh. A soldier films a video of a clash between Indian and Chinese troops. The soldier filming this is clearly from Punjab, as it can be gauged from his loud directions to the troops. It is encounters like this that makes the Chinese army blare Punjabi songs from its loudspeaker in distant Ladakh even today. Sikhs form a large part of the Indian army, but to the Chinese eye, maybe the turbaned man still represents someone who once blocked their parks, the man who once policed their cities, or the man who to them represented colonial power in a brown face. The British left China in 1949, but the memory of one colonized people enforcing the rule of another, that colonial scar still lingers in the Chinese imagination. imagination. And that's why even today when China wants to mock India, they reach for the turban.